New York's primaries are set to take place on Thursday, and the gubernatorial election between incumbent Andrew Cuomo and his progressive challenger, Cynthia Nixon, is getting super salty. This is exactly the type of election you should be paying attention to if you're on the left but feel routinely disappointed with the Democratic Party. Cuomo represents the status quo, while Nixon is a strong progressive who has been pushing for a Medicare for all healthcare system and an end to corporate corruption. In fact, to prove her disdain for the legalized bribery in government, she has refused to accept corporate PAC money, which has unfortunately given Cuomo a competitive edge over her. He has outraised and outspent Nixon, and Bloomberg reports that Cuomo's $24 million campaign treasury dwarfs the $442,000 Nixon had as of August 13th. He's spent $7.9 million this year, much of it on market research, polling, and television advertising. But even though the polls, which are dated at this point, indicate that Cuomo has a giant lead over Nixon, he and the Democratic establishment sure seem scared of her. Just recently, New York's Democratic Party sent out defamatory mailers accusing Nixon of anti-Semitism. It was a curious, not to mention insulting attack, considering she's raising her two older children in the Jewish faith. CNN notes that the mailer, quote, falsely claimed Nixon supports the BDS movement, the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement, which aims to pressure Israel over its treatment of Palestinians, and accused her of being silent on the rise of anti-Semitism. But Nixon hasn't been silent on anti-Semitism. Just last August, Nixon condemned the, quote, rising hate crimes we are seeing against Muslims, Jews, and many other communities. She addressed the smears against her in a press conference over the weekend.
I am the mother of Jewish children, and I am very alarmed by the rise of anti-Semitism in this country and globally. I am frightened for my children. I am frightened for our world. And to use this kind of unfounded charge as a political weapon in a smear campaign is unworthy of Andrew Cuomo's Democratic Party. I do not personally support BDS, but I support the right of those who do to speak about it.
Cuomo's response to the backlash establishment Dems have been facing in response to the mailer demonstrates an incredible level of cowardice. His tactic has been to deny that he had anything to do with the defamatory content, saying, quote, I think the mailing was inappropriate. I think it was a mistake. They better figure out how this happened. No, you better figure out how this happened. The flyer is labeled as having been paid for by the New York State Democratic Committee, and guess who controls that organization? That's right, Andrew Cuomo. Best case scenario, if we were to believe that he didn't know about the mailer, this shows his failing leadership and his inability to keep members of his own party under control. This whole controversy has been so bad for Cuomo that other establishment Dems are criticizing him for it. New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio shared a blistering tweet saying, the following: the mailer sent by the New York Democratic Party in the 11th hour falsely attacking Cynthia Nixon is beyond unacceptable. It's downright Trumpian. A tweeted apology calling it a mistake is laughable. The state party must compensate the Nixon campaign immediately. So if polling indicates that Cuomo has an impressive lead over Nixon, why would he and New York's Democratic Party stoop this low to attack her? Look, based on my own analysis and personal opinion, Cuomo severely underestimated Nixon prior to agreeing to the one and only debate he had with her. The hour-long debate on August 29th made it clear that Cuomo showed up unprepared, while Nixon brought out the big guns and aggressively attacked the governor's cozy relationship with corruption. There are too many fantastic moments from that debate to share in this segment, but I can't help but show you one of my favorite moments.
Campaign finance reform is something that Governor Cuomo has been promising ever since he ran in 2010. It's not hard to know how to do campaign finance reform. It's to close the LLC loophole by which corporations can donate an unlimited amount of money to political campaigns. But since taking office, Governor Cuomo has received $16 million through the LLC loophole. That's more than every single legislator in Albany combined.
Damn. The most recent polling done on the Cuomo-Nixon race was in July, so we don't know how ahead Cuomo really is. But his actions would demonstrate that the gap is closing, which would be a good thing for New Yorkers. Cuomo's governorship has been riddled with questionable behavior. One of the more recent examples was when he decided to drop investigations on prosecutors who had refused to press charges against alleged rapist Harvey Weinstein. Turns out that Weinstein's previous lawyers had donated $25,000 to Cuomo's re-election campaign just before he decided to drop the investigation. It's great to know how much Andrew Cuomo can be bought for. Nixon isn't hitting below the belt when she calls out Cuomo's love for legalized bribery because she's telling the truth. It's sad that the only line of attack establishment Dems have is to make up nonsense stories about their opponents. Oh, did you like that video? Well, that's great, because you never have to miss another episode of No Filter. All you have to do is just hit the subscribe button below and ring the bell to get notified whenever we publish a new video.